The story begins as a man descends from the sky, causing a sudden earthquake. A girl named Mamori rushes out of her store, and she finds a huge dragon causing chaos in the city, but a cat jumps on her shoulder and tells her it's time to get to work. So she removes her hair tie, activating her power, and she transforms into a magical girl, flying at the dragon, and she takes it out in a single hit. She finds the man, recognizing him as the evil lieutenant, and she tells him she won't let him have his way, but as he looks at her, his glasses suddenly break, seeing how cute she is, and he realizes he's in love. At the evil organization's castle, we learn the man is named Mera, and his associates wonder how he lost to Mamori, but he tells them they don't need to worry, saying his next plan is already in motion, and he guarantees he will succeed. He confronts Mamori the next day, but instead of fighting, he suddenly gives her a cake instead. She realizes he's getting wet, so they find some shelter. He tells her the cake is an olive branch, and she mentions he has a good heart, causing him to become flustered, but he tries to remember his mission. We learn that Mera was born into an elite evil family, and he has been working his way up through the evil organization, where he's now the right-hand man to the king of evil, but he starts freaking out, feeling that something's wrong since he met Mamori. She gets close to him, wondering if he's okay, but it only makes him freak out even more. He regains his composure and wonders why she's so easily accepted his cake, because it could have been poisoned. She thinks he wouldn't do that, but also notes that she hasn't eaten in a week, so he wonders how she's still alive. We learn she lives alone and has 2 part-time jobs, along with being a magical girl in the night, so she gets too busy to eat, but she thinks of it as saving money. Mera can't believe this, offering her more cake, and he tells her that if he defeats her when she isn't at her best, it will damage the reputation of his organization. She thinks he's being kind, but he considers it a matter of pride, and decides to send her a year's worth of rice. Back at the castle, Mera goes to his room, remembering his moment with Mamori, and it makes him unable to control himself. He reminds himself of his purpose, and as the right hand of the king of evil, he must give his report on Mamori, but he ends up ordering a cheesecake for her instead. The next day, Mera declares he will knock Mamori out, showing her the cheesecake, but she suddenly collapses, so he holds her in his arms, and she explains she didn't have any time to sleep. He wonders why, so she explains she had to work, because a land shark took the facility she grew up in, and when a talking cat came up to her offering her money, she agreed to become a magical girl, but she ended up finding out that the cat was working with the landlord the entire time. Mera tells her she should leave her job, since she doesn't really want to fight, but she thinks someone needs to save the city, and it also lets her see him from time to time. He loses it hearing this, and tells her it's not fair since she's too cute, ready to give her his credit card. She apologizes for getting him worked up, and he tells her to seriously consider quitting, because he doesn't want to be forced to kill her. Back at the castle, Mera wonders if Mamori is toying with him, and he refuses to be manipulated, reminding himself that he's evil, but he ends up ordering a fruit tart for her instead. He searches for Mamori online, and discovers that there isn't much information about her. A servant suddenly arrives with tea, offering to help him defeat her, but he mentions it's his responsibility to knock her out, saying she belongs to him. He buys a limited edition pudding for Mamori, and he meets her, but she apologizes for being late. She tells him she was busy, and starts eating the pudding, as he gets lost in her cuteness. He asks her about the number of jobs she has, so she starts counting on her fingers, but can't figure out the exact number, saying most of her jobs are one-time gigs. He wonders if it's difficult to work in a convenience store, so she explains it can be difficult to deal with the customers. He tells her to show him what she means, so she asks him if he would like his bento to be warmed up, but he accidentally breaks his teapot as he gets overwhelmed by her cuteness. She realizes she's still in her work uniform, and he tells her to wear a formidable outfit whenever she meets him, reminding her that they're enemies. So she transforms into her magical girl outfit, and he finds her extremely cute, wondering if she can transform again. He takes his tea, but she notices his sleeve is burnt and offers to repair it for him, but he breaks his teacup, thinking they're like a married couple. He tells her she doesn't need to do it, but she tells him she's pretty good at it, so he crushes the teapot again, saying he will do anything for her. She starts mending his sleeve, as she reveals that she used to repair all of her clothes, and he invites her to go shopping, thinking she needs more clothes. She reveals that the cat who turns her into the magical girl takes all the money she earns, saying he manages her assets and finds job opportunities for her. She adds that he made business cards so that it would be easier for her to find jobs. She gives Mira one of her cards. He realizes she's advertising giving massages, so he tells her to destroy it. He realizes that she's called Glass Happiness, and she tells him she was given that name, saying it means happiness can be as fragile as glass. She finishes mending his shirt and thanks him for his kindness, saying it makes her think being a magical girl isn't too difficult, but he lies again, saying everything he does is a matter of pride. Mira returns to the castle as we learn that he's famous for his cruelty and lack of emotions, but his subordinates wonder why he has a flower stitched to his sleeves. So they start gossiping, but he turns around, making them all silent and afraid, but he realizes he's setting a bad example for them. So the next day, Mira decides to attack the city with slimes, but he sees a video where Mamori is being assaulted by the slimes, and she appears to be struggling, so he becomes angry, and he burns all of them with a massive fireball. He carries her in his arms, taking her to a safe place. When he sees her crying, he can't help but lose control, and he covers her with his jacket. He tells her to go home, but she mentions that his jacket is warm and huge, making him freak out, and he squeezes slimes to calm himself down. He takes her home, but he wonders why she let him know her address, thinking she's being careless. But she thanks him for his kindness, giving him her name, and they both say goodbye to each other, hoping they will meet again. After that, Mira notes that he finally knows Mamori's name and address, and he thinks about sending the information to the higher-ups so that they can get rid of her. But his servant suddenly interrupts him, and he decides not to do it. Mira's companion questions him for showing no progress in defeating his enemy, but he explains that everything is going according to the plan, so they should stop worrying. He suddenly gets a phone call, so he excuses himself, as his companions think he can never be controlled by his emotions, because he's incredibly ruthless, but it turns out he ordered a special steak for Mamori. Mira gives Mamori a bouquet, and she also gives him a flower she made, as she mentions she's been making fake flowers recently, but he thinks she works too much, so he tells her to take care of herself. She stares at him, thinking he's so kind, and she can't believe he's part of an evil empire, but this makes him shiver, and she doesn't understand why he looks so nervous. After that, the cat tells Mamori to bring him beer, and she notices the laptop screen displaying her video, where she was attacked by slimes, and he plans to sell it, knowing people are willing to pay a fortune just to watch it. Meanwhile, Mira is at a nightclub, because his companions asked him to join them, and he already regrets going there, but Mamori suddenly approaches him, introducing herself as an employee. He's shocked to see her there, and he becomes defensive, saying he wasn't the one who wanted to go there. She suddenly starts crying, so he takes her out, asking her what's wrong, but she keeps crying, so he wipes her tears. When she's finally ready, she reveals that her video is being sold by the cat, and the ground starts shaking as he becomes furious. Mira confronts the cat, telling him he's taking advantage of her, but he explains that he's just a guide, saying she belongs to him, so he can do whatever he wants with her. Mira slits his neck in the blink of an eye, and his soul mentions that familiars have no concept of death, saying he will appear before Mamori again. Mira thinks about telling his higher-ups about the cat, but Mamori thanks him and invites him to have dinner with her. She serves him the same steak he ordered for her, and they both enjoy the meal. He reveals that he enjoys eating sweets, and she tells him there used to be a bakery near her facility, which used to give children free bread crust to snack on, but they would fight over it, because it wasn't enough to feed all of them. He buries his face in his hands, and decides to max out his bank balance to support her, and when he's about to leave, she wonders if she can keep his jacket for a bit longer. So he allows it, but she reveals that her plan is to get the Royal Happiness cleaning for his jacket, which is 3 times more expensive than the normal one, so Mira takes the jacket to save her money. She reveals she kept looking at his jacket all day, and he thinks of returning it again, but she tells him he can keep it. The evil organization assigns an officer named Fumaru to help Mira deal with Mamori, and he looks forward to working with him, but Mira isn't happy about it. As he writes his report about Mamori, he wonders if he has feelings for her. But he thinks he just wants to cheer her up because she always looks sad, so he reads a guide about gift giving, planning to give her everything she wants to make her happy. Fullmaru joins Mera for his next meeting with Mamori, and he tells him he's always there for him, telling him to look into his eyes, which are filled with determination, but Mera orders him to calm down. Fullmaru keeps praising Mera, who finds a way to distract him by throwing a ball and telling him to fetch it, but he instantly returns. Mamori arrives, and Fullmaru hides behind the bushes, as Mera thinks that Fullmaru has been sent by the King of Evil to keep an eye on him, so he needs to maintain his credibility and act cold in front of her. She comes running towards him, as she apologizes for being late, and he immediately loses his cool, but he manages to speak in an angry tone. She reveals that she wanted to see him, so he loses his mind, and he crushes the playground spring bouncer, which shocks Fullmaru. But Mera tells him it's his strategy to act friendly, so that she will drop her guard, and Fullmaru believes him. He thinks that if he doesn't look at her, he will get through it, but his eyes start to wander. She reveals that she made lunch for him as a token of gratitude, and he accepts it, telling Fullmaru it's poisoned, but he realizes that he needs to make something up to avoid eating it. She notices him staring at the lunchbox, so she wonders if he's not hungry, but he just can't control himself, and devours the entire box in a second, as Fullmaru becomes worried. He remembers the time when Mera burned villages to achieve his mission, and he never hesitated to make sacrifices, because he thinks it's a sign of weakness. He tells Fullmaru he ate the poison lunch, telling him to think of poison as a spice, and Fullmaru thinks he's amazing. We learn that Mera wanted to eliminate Fullmaru, but he realized that Fullmaru wasn't the brightest, and can easily be distracted. Fullmaru tells Mera to introduce him to Mamori the next time they meet her, and he agrees to do it. He wants to find a way to avoid arousing Fullmaru's suspicion and keep him away from Mamori, so he warns him to be on guard, because she will kill him if he touches her. When they meet her, Mera introduces Fullmaru as his colleague, and Mamori praises Mera, saying he's kind to her, which causes him to deviate from his rude persona, and he writes the word cute on a tree. Fullmaru introduces himself and moves forward for a handshake, but Mera stops him, reminding him she can kill him if he touches her. He asks her why she's a magical girl, so she reveals that she just wants to earn money, and he can't believe she lacks conviction, as he accidentally tries to touch her again, but Mera stops him. He gives her her present for the day, which is a chocolate cake, and Fullmaru wonders if it's poisoned, so Mera reveals that it can be dangerous, saying he shouldn't even think of eating it. As Mamori eats the cake, Mera notices chocolate on her face, which he wipes with his finger, and Fullmaru thinks he should also behave like Mera. So he puts his hand on Mamori's cheek, telling her he will bring sweets for her next time. He thinks he has earned Mera's respect, but he realizes that he just made him angry. As they go to get drinks, Fullmaru tells Mera he was just trying to lend a helping hand, but they couldn't achieve anything today. Mera mentions there's something he can do that will be actually helpful to him, and Mera pretends to throw a ball, telling Fullmaru to fetch it, so he runs away, but we see that the ball is still in his hands. He gives a drink to Mamori, and she mentions that Fullmaru seems like a wonderful person, so he becomes jealous, wondering if she's interested in him, but she explains that she isn't. She mentions that she's just happy to know more about Mera and his friend, and he's about to touch her, but Fullmaru interrupts them, saying he found a rabbit, even though he was asked to find the ball. The cat reveals that Mamori is the type of girl who's always ready to give up on things, but she has the ability to understand and adapt to new situations. Even though she doesn't usually put up a fight, she also doesn't let anyone take advantage of her. Mera thinks he has been struggling to find the next gift for Mamori, but his servant tells him he wants to show him something that will please him. The servant leads him to the basement, where he sees they have captured Mamori, with her hands and feet cuffed in chains, and his subordinates ask him to begin his interrogation. He's shocked to see her crying, and he gets rid of his subordinates in one blow, piling up their lifeless bodies. He pretends to begin his interrogation, because he has noticed a camera recording them, and he starts thinking how he can find a safe route to help her escape. As he looks at her, he's overwhelmed by how cute she looks, and slams his head against the wall, but she starts trembling, and mentions that she needs to use the restroom. But he tells her she needs to hold it, saying he will find a way to help her escape, but she wonders if it will cause any danger to him. He explains that it doesn't matter, saying he won't let her get interrogated, but she mentions that he has already saved her several times, so he can do whatever he wants. This statement sparks a strong reaction in him, which makes it difficult for him to keep his cool, while she keeps asking him if she can use the restroom. He realizes that she has no desire to escape, and he knows that there are cameras in the room, but he seems to enjoy himself. Fumaru suddenly arrives with a watermelon, saying he found the ball, and Mira becomes hopeful, thinking he can help her escape, but he's shocked seeing her tied up. He apologizes for entering without knocking on the door, and tells Mera to continue with what he's doing, saying he won't disturb them again. He leaves, and Mera is disappointed, but he thinks about tricking the others by turning off the cameras, making them hear the sounds she lets out when he tickles her. He tells her to bear it a little longer and pretend to faint so he can untie her. She wonders why he's helping her, and he notes that he didn't like the way she gave up on struggling to escape from the beginning, and we learn she has never been expressive since she was young. We go back to her childhood in her facility, when she's left alone, and she pretends to be okay with it, but she's actually scared, since she can't say what she wants. She opens her eyes, and finds herself in her home, as Mera reveals that she passed out while she was being tickled. He knows she did what he asked her to, but he's upset, because she didn't say a word before falling unconscious. She tells him she thought she could handle it, but he walks towards the door, saying he needs to deal with a lot because of what happened. He tells her that if something else happens, he won't protect her, and she apologizes to him, saying she will be more ready next time. But he yells at her, because she doesn't get his point, and the thunder along with his voice scares her, so she starts crying. He lowers his voice, asking her if she really wants him to leave, and she begs him to stay with her, so he smiles, and he sits with her, but he tells her they're still enemies. We see a bird familiar talking to the cat, telling him Mamori is a failure, and he mentions that the girl he's guiding is going to become the new magical girl. The new girl named Hibana seems to be extremely aggressive, and like the complete opposite of Mamori. She jumps at her familiar, biting his head, as he wonders if her coffee was bitter. We learn she's 15, and loves cute things, but she was surprised when she was told to become a magical girl, so she asked her toys for approval. She reveals that the bird made her a magical girl, and she's grateful to him, but she's embarrassed to be honest about it. She attacks her familiar again, making him bleed through his lips, but he tells her it's time to work. She transforms by pulling her choker, and they both go to a place where Mira's servants are messing with the children. When she arrives, people are surprised to see her, wondering if she's going to use magic. But she snaps her staff in half, and fights with her brass knuckles instead. At night, she defeats numerous slimes, and her familiar wonders if she's okay, because she appears to be injured. Mera arrives, realizing there's another magical girl, and he uses his flames to knock her out. Back at his office, he sits quietly on his chair, while his servants discuss how he behaves coldly after achieving a huge mission. He believes he killed the other magical girl because he didn't have any other option to keep Mamori alive and clear his name as well. He thinks his relationship with Mamori has ended since he killed her friend, but realizes they were enemies, so it was the right thing to do. Hibana suddenly wakes up after a nightmare and is stunned to see herself alive. Her familiar comes running towards her and apologizes for putting her in danger, but he mentions that he wants to tell her something. He begins by saying it's about the structure of magical girls, saying familiars are messengers of God who descend from the heavens, and they're entrusted with a message. They're also known as angels, and we learn that their duty is to select pure girls and turn them into magical girls. He explains that he isn't the only angel, so there are other magical girls in the world, and he thinks she has the potential to be the best, but he doesn't want her to prove it at the risk of her life. He apologizes for revealing the information so late, but she mentions that even if she isn't the only one, she will do her job, since it's her dream. Meanwhile, Mamori is upset, because she hasn't seen Mera in the past few days, and while she's lost in her thoughts, her boss orders her to focus on work. Mera still feels regretful for killing Mamori's friend, and decides to meet her for a final time so that he can formally end their complicated relationship. Mera tells Mamori that they need to end everything between them, but she explains that she was worried since they haven't met in a while. He reveals that he killed her fellow magical girl, but she just asks him if there are others like her, so he becomes surprised. She wonders if she's a heartless person, because after hearing about another magical girl, she's just glad he has returned to her safely. He suddenly hugs her, telling her she melts his heart every time when she's so sweet, but she's confused, and Hibana suddenly arrives, shocking Mera because he thought she was already dead. We learn that Mamori actually knows her, since they were classmates while they were in elementary school. She runs towards Mamori for a hug, but her love language is actually violence, so she smacks Mamori with a punch. The bird familiar suddenly appears, and he mentions that he wants Mamori to stop being a magical girl because she fell in love with her enemy. She's shocked hearing this, and Mira can't even process the information. The bird tells her she needs to make a decision, asking her to choose between Mira's love or partnering with Hibana to fight evil, and she instantly picks Mira. Hibana tells the bird that removing Mamori from her position is wrong, saying world peace isn't possible without love. He realizes his mistake and doesn't remove Mamori from her post, but he tells her to prove she's on Hibana's side. After that, Mira takes Mamori to her home, and he thinks he might have misunderstood that she actually loves him, but she behaves as if it's true, so he loses control, and he crushes the nearby pole. Meanwhile, the bird and the cat ascend to the sky, where they originally came from, and they're seen in their true forms, as they discuss their competition to determine whose magical girl will save the world. Mamori tells Mera that the cat has disappeared, saying it has happened before, but he thinks it would be better if he doesn't return. We see them playing chess when the cat returns, telling them they shouldn't be there flirting. But Mera explains that they're still enemies, and they're playing a game against each other. The cat thinks it's just another way of justifying his cheeky relationship with Mamori, and the bird suddenly arrives, revealing that today is the day when they will see whose magical girl is the strongest. The cat shuts the door on his face, but he enters anyway, and he starts comparing Mamori's home to Hibana's, saying it's only as big as a storeroom in Hibana's house. Both of the familiars start comparing the girls, with the bird saying Hibana has been admired as a magical girl since her childhood, while the cat mentions that Mamori's entire life depends on being a magical girl. The bird argues that Hibana can defeat the enemy empty-handed, while the cat claims that Mamori can tame the enemy without force. The bird calls Mamori's face expressionless, making her self-conscious, but Mera tells her he likes it. The familiars forget about their magical girls and start comparing each other, but Hibana reminds them they're meant to be ranking them, making them kneel down and accept their mistakes. We see Mamori doing calculations for the month's expenditure, and the cat presents her with another job offer, where she needs to transport shabu shabu, a Japanese dish, but she isn't allowed to wear underwear while doing it. She wonders what kind of absurd request he just made, but he tries to manipulate her, suggesting it would look odd if she wears underwear while no one else does. She's disgusted by his logic and declines the job offer as she diverts the conversation to a different topic. She tells him that most of their money has gone to his social outings, but he explains that it's necessary because it's almost time for Christmas. Meanwhile, Mera is busy selecting Christmas gifts to buy for Mamori, and his associates, Alcyone and Spica, join him to discuss gift ideas. Another girl named Bella overhears their conversation, and she becomes hopeful that the gift might be for her. Alcyone and Spica explain the significance of different gifts, saying a lipstick means a kiss, while a necklace could suggest a commitment, and clothes might imply a desire to undress. Bella imagines her unrealistic fantasies with Mera, leading her to run away overwhelmed by her own imagination. Mamori and the cat are in a Christmas-decorated district when they run into the bird and Hibana, and the two angels start arguing again. We learn Hibana is there to gather ingredients for a pudding, while Mamori and the cat are looking for budget-friendly foods. The bird and the cat start bickering again about whose magical girl can cook better, and they attract the crowd around them. But Hibana intervenes, saying the most important ingredient in cooking is love, and there's no need to argue about who's better, because everyone's experience is different. Mamori later meets Mera, but she accidentally falls down, and he helps her get up. He wonders if she came to meet him during her break, and she explains that she wanted to see him, even if it's for a short time. He's flustered by her cuteness, so he asks her if she's free on the 24th and 25th. But she explains that she needs to work on Christmas for the extra pay, so he's disappointed. But she promises to work hard and get the evening off to eat cake with him, and she wonders if he's free around that time. So he mentions he's a busy guy, but he won't reject her offer to spend time with him, and she tells him she wants to say something selfish, inviting him to have dinner with her. He instantly agrees, but wonders why she thinks it's selfish, because they'd had dinner together before. She tells him she has never thought much about Christmas before, but she wants to spend the festival with him this year. He's surprised to hear it, and the thought of spending Christmas with her makes his glasses shatter. He freaks out, wondering what she's up to, but he regains his composure, asking her what she wants to eat, and she invites him to come to her place. We cut to Christmas Day, where where we see Mamori selling cakes, but she feels cold, and Mira suddenly gives her his jacket. He also gives her flowers, but she tells him she can't go until she sells all the cakes, so he pulls out his card and offers to buy everything. She thanks him as they walk, and he notes that the evil organization will take care of all the cakes in no time. Mamori stops to buy some vegetables, and Mira starts thinking they're acting like a couple. They visit another shop, where after collecting 10 vouchers, customers can enter a lottery to win 10 kilograms of rice. Mira immediately tries to buy her a year's supply, but Mamori stops him, saying that he's already done too much for her, but her luck isn't very good, so she only wins a packet of tissues. Mira gets angry and asks the shop owner how many vouchers he must buy to get the reward, but he's told it doesn't work like that. After that, they go to Mamori's house, where Mira offers to help out, even though he has no cooking experience, so she gives him a carrot to peel. She decides to cook glazed carrots with the hamburger steak that she already prepared, and when Mira sees that it's heart-shaped, he loses control, but he reminds himself that girls use hearts in their texts, so it doesn't mean anything. But the heart-shaped steak still excites him, and he washes the carrots so much that Mamori worries that they will have none left to eat. He wonders why she's smiling, and Mamori notes that it's strange how they're doing everything together. Mira thinks the same way, because they were supposed to be enemies, but he thinks they're behaving like newlyweds. After the food is ready, Mira is overjoyed to get the heart-shaped steak. He finds it delicious, and Mamori thinks the carrots are also good. She's happy she got to spend Christmas with him, and as they start to get closer, the cat suddenly interrupts them, reminding them that they're enemies. Mira agrees he should protect his reputation, but when Mamori serves food for the cat, he becomes flustered, since he was the only one who got a heart-shaped steak. Hibana and her familiar also join them, and she aggressively hugs Mamori. Meanwhile, at the evil organization, everyone celebrates Christmas, and one of Mira's associates named Betelgeuse praises Mira for organizing the party for them. Later on, Hibana notices the two familiars have fallen asleep, so she tucks them in, and she sees Mira and Mamori outside, where they both wish each other Merry Christmas, and Mira gives her a scarf as a gift. We see Mamori preparing breakfast, but when she tries to wake up the cat, he tells her to join him. After breakfast, they have a meeting, where the cat tells her they need to refine their tactics, and they need a magical girl-like catchphrase for her entrance. He shows her how it's done, and even though she doesn't like it, she agrees to do it since the cat says it's important. So she gives it a go, which makes the cat laugh, but he likes her obedience, and she notes that it's her job. He mentions they need to update her outfit, and he shows her a few options to choose from, but they're all too revealing, so she prefers something with a little more fabric. The cat teases her and she calls for Mira to save her, but it upsets the cat, because he thinks she shouldn't contact their enemy for help. Meanwhile, Mira leads the evil organization's emergency meeting to plan their 17th annual party, and only Fomaru is excited about it. Mira mentions that the evil king is looking forward to it, which makes them change their mind, because they treat it as an end-of-year party, but in reality, it's an unholy feast dedicated to the king of evil. The others wonder what he has in mind, so he says they will have a no-laughing competition, just like in the previous year. He mentions he won't be participating since he's organizing, but the others have trauma from taking part in the previous year. Fomaru notes that if they have the same roles as last year, it'll be boring for the king, so he suggests Mira should also join them in the competition, but Mira distracts him by throwing a ball. We see Mamori working her job, while the cat just relaxes at her house. When she gets home at night, she finds him sleeping, so she starts cleaning the house before dinner. The cat suggests going to the bathhouse, and Mamori is able to relax, but afterwards, we see the cat in his human form as they head back. As they have dinner together, the cat wonders what she thinks of him since they live together, but she doesn't really answer, and just calls him a messenger from heaven. She mentions it's new to her, so she doesn't completely understand it, but she thinks their situation is similar to what a family would be like. He tells her soup is bland, but she thinks it's still tasty, and she wishes him a happy new year. We see Mamori in her bed, but she's terrified as she hears something moving around her room. Meanwhile, Mira's associates tease him because they think he has feelings for Mamori. They look at his personality test, where he answered love to the first four-letter word that came to his mind. So they think he's in love, and as they continue to go through the games, it makes Mira late for his daily meetup with Mamori, and he wonders why she isn't there yet. He spends all day waiting for her, and he thinks that even though they didn't agree to meet every day, she might be up to something, so he decides to check on her. He finds her sitting outside her house, and when she sees him, she starts to cry and hugs him. He wonders if it's her new strategy, because the only thing he can think about is how cute she is. Mamori tells him she missed him and that she's glad he came, which confuses him, and he tries to calm himself down. He notices she's shaking, so he asks if everything's alright, wondering if the cat did something to her. But she tells him the cat isn't around, so he should stay with her. He wonders if she's so deeply in love with him that she's ready to forget her mission just to spend a night with him, but it turns out that she's scared of ghosts. Mira finally understands the situation, and after seeing her house, he also believes her house is haunted. She tells him how she ignored it at first, but the ghost has been starting to scare her a lot, and now she isn't able to sleep. He wonders why she hasn't moved out, but she mentions it's because the rent is super cheap. She mentions that she never believed in ghosts, but after the cat told her that he and Mira were both supernatural beings, she couldn't deny the existence of ghosts. Mamori tells him that the cat won't be back for a while, so she's alone, but Mira reminds himself that it doesn't matter if they're alone, since they're enemies, and there's no room for error. But Mamori suddenly hugs him after hearing a sound, and he mentions that he heard it too, so he decides to stay the night, telling her they will discuss it in the morning when things are calmer. As they try to sleep, Mamori holds onto him, and she thanks him for everything he's done for her, thinking he's done too much, but he gets up, saying he would do anything for her, but he realizes she has already fallen asleep. After that, the cat returns and cleanses the house using his sacred powers, but Mira beats him because he didn't do it earlier, so he mentions he wanted to move to a better house, but Mamori is happy she won't need to pay a higher rent. We see Mamori and Mira at their spot, and Mamori thinks about surprising him by covering his eyes from behind, but she realizes she's too short. We learn that Mira already knew Mamori was there, but he pretended not to see her to let her surprise him, but when she couldn't reach, he found her way too cute. She greets him and mentions she forgot to do her catchphrase, so Mira tells her to do it. She's surprised by his request, but agrees to do it, and after witnessing her performance, he laughs at her, because he thinks it's cute that she's so serious about it. Mamori is happy she was able to make him smile, but he tells her to do it again, saying it's for his research. She gets embarrassed after doing it 3 times, and she calls him mean, so he reminds her that he's the ruthless evil lieutenant, but Mamori disagrees, because she thinks he's kind even when he's teasing her. Mira wonders what kind of magic she can do, so she tells him about her power happiness, which makes it so that only good things can happen. Mira thinks it's overpowered, but Mamori mentions that it only lasts for 9 seconds. She goes on to tell him about her second skill called happiness conversion. We learn it can turn any misfortune into happiness, but it requires Mamori to experience misfortune herself, as the cat leaves her with a shady woman. She seems traumatized from her training, but she tries to show Mira her magic, but tells him he needs to do something to make her unhappy. She tells him to hit her, but he can't do it, so he tries pinching her instead, but he just thinks about how soft her cheeks are. He goes on to tickling her, but he stops because he can't handle it. They head back to Mamori's place, and she apologizes for not being able to show him her magic. She notes that her magic is triggered by unhappiness, but the comforting touch from his hands fills her with happiness, so it makes it hard for her to demonstrate her powers, and Mira loses it hearing this. She asks to see him again, and they say goodbye, thinking about how even though they are enemies, they're the happiest when they're together. But that's where this video ends. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.